What do you feel is an advocacy issue that's facing our D9 organizations? And I know there's many, but if you can hone in on one, and how will you look to address it, or look to address it both from Alpha Phi Alpha's point of view as well as President of Council Presidents?
Well, I think, quite honestly, I'll take it in reverse order. We need to establish swim lanes and ways of working for the Divine Nine, because we're 9 different organizations, and alignment is going to be everything in order for us to ensure that we can be effective together. I think the one area that is crystallizing out for us directly is voting, voter engagement, voter empowerment, and voter education. You heard some of that today in the panel, because we spoke to it earlier, and we've been talking about how we can ensure, not only in 2023, but especially in the general presidential election in 24, building into organizational alignment, people that we normally don't partner with, that are thinking outside of the box, and getting folks not only to register, but getting them to the polls to vote. It's going to be very critical. I applaud all of the men in Alpha Phi Alpha for our days at the Capitol. One thing that we've been able to pick up as a Council of Presidents is that there's a need for more touches at the state house level for the fraternity, and really across all of the D9s. So it's not just Alpha Phi Alpha. And so we have our legislative days at the Capitol, but let's make sure we're going back and touching on key issues, touching on health care, touching on gun violence and policing and appropriate policing. I mean, we can pull down at least 16 items that came out of this survey that we conducted with the Brotherhood of areas of interest. But voting, our voter empowerment, voter education is number one. We got to make sure that we are looking for equality and equity as citizens of this country. That means that, you know, we want to make sure we're getting a fair shot and having parity with our peers to make sure that we can live out the true meaning of our creed, and that we can have right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That's what we want to do.
We are in some critical times. So I will tell you that it is difficult to pick one issue, but I am going to pick the one that permeates and impacts so many other things, and that's the issue of protecting our right to vote. From a national level, we know that there have been challenges and just outright suppression to pass the John Lewis Voting Rights Act. So we still advocate for Congress to pass the John Lewis Voting Rights Act so that all of the voting rights that our forefathers and foremothers fought so hard for, and the Civil Rights Acts of the past and the Voting Rights Act of 1965 has continued to be eroded, but at this point, it's practically non-existent. So to have that protection on a national level at a time when each one of our states, in 44 states, there have been laws introduced to restrict rights to vote. And we know those restrictions disproportionately affect our communities. They affect brown people. They reflect black people. They affect people with disabilities and those that don't have the means, as some others do, to really be able to understand, as well as even travel to be able to exercise their rights to vote. So I would say that, and that permeates, because if we don't have the laws that are passed, it permeates so many other things. It permeates redistricting, so that things continue to be tighter from a law perspective. It permeates economic parity. It permeates educational development and parity. So it really impacts so much. And though all of those other areas are important, if we don't protect our right to vote, other rights that we continue to fight so hard for will continue to be eroded.
Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated has a seat at the table and at the forefront of leadership as it pertains to advocacy and all. And we're glad to know under your helm, they will continue.
Yeah. Key things in terms of education, including education on the issues, as well as education on the laws in each individual state, certainly registration, mobilization, and making sure that our vote is also protected as folks are looking to go to vote. And that's not only our members, but the D9 as a whole, our communities as a whole. It's absolutely critical. And Delta's taken further steps as we are looking to fight voter suppression laws and entered with the NAACP Legal Defense Fund 2 lawsuits, one in the state of Georgia, one in the state of Texas, to fight the voter suppression laws that have been passed and challenge their constitutionality. And so the one in Texas is active right now. So one of the key things that we are doing. We have members in that courtroom every day for a trial that's expected to last a couple of months. We have some of our members that will be testifying on the suppression that has occurred and the impact that it has had not on our members and our community. So we've taken that as a step further in addition to the other things that we are doing to make sure that we continue to protect and advocate for our rights to vote.
Well, first of all, thank you so much for the opportunity. Proud to be the international president of Phi Beta Sigma. Proud to be the president of Barber Scotia College, which I want to make sure I shout out and say that our 7th president of Barber Scotia College was Lionel Newsom, who I understand was the 22nd general president of Phi Alpha.
And he knows his Alpha history as a Phi Beta Sigma man. That is exactly right.
Well, you know, when you're the president, you always know your history.
Right.
You always know your history. But when you talk about, there's so many issues that are, it's hard to rank them. It just really is. But what I would say is that when it comes to economics is tied into every other disparity that impacts us, right? And so I would say that why we come to these spaces is to figure out how do we continue to get access to the dollar so that I can take care of my family, so that I can lay something for the next generation.
Yes.
And what has happened in this country is that there has been individuals who have put barriers in place so that I economically cannot get over.
Right.
And so that keeps me at a status that I don't get to be my very best.
Okay.
And so I would always say that whenever there are barriers because of inequity, barriers where they create ways of me not being able to capture that dollar, for me to participate in an economy that I need to participate in to take care of my family, take care of myself, that's a problem. And that's a problem that we have to continuously address and find ways for us to be able to get access for our people.
It just goes to show that we have much work to do, although we have accomplished quite a bit as D9 organizations. And while there's constant communication of erasing, if you will, D9 organizations, our purposes, our objectives, our mission statements, and everything in between are just as relevant today as it was during the respective foundings, including you all back in January of 1914.
That's correct. That's correct. I mean, no one could ever say that the contributions of the Divine Nine hasn't had a true impact on the fabric, not only on America, but the world. You know, when you think about our chapters that are located in various countries throughout the Caribbean, you think about the service that we're doing. We're helping somebody. We're helping, we're being able to create opportunities for a man to be able to provide for his family because there may have been a storm that came through, and we have the opportunity to help them rebuild. So there are so many examples that I know that we can point to. And so that's why I'm always disappointed when people minimize us to just stepping and just partying. When at the end of the day, not only is the core of what we are or who we are as service, it is truly the fabric of who our organizations are, right? And so that's our lifeline. You don't move, we don't move if we're not doing service. Because everything else, you're just truly a social club.
Exactly.
And we are more than a social club. We are.
We derived from that, from our humble beginnings. That's why we're where we are today.
Yeah, I would have to say it's the wealth gap. And when I think of wealth gap, the number one advocacy issue that's on the table right now is student loan debt. And when I think about student loan debt, it straps the middle. So we oftentimes talk about the people who are more impoverished, but that is an issue.
Yes.
However, the issue that hurts us even more is that we have people who are educated and who are working, and they're sewing, but they're financially strapped. So when the student loan debt went into hold, we had a quarter of our country was past due. 9 million people were in default.
Wow.
So when you think about that, you say, wow, that's going to be an impact on a couple things. Now that student loan debt is back, and we're now repaying and things like that, it hurts our children if we go into default because they can't get a college education.
Right.
And then the other things that it hurt is investment and real estate. And we know that you're likely to be more impoverished by 60% if you're not investing in real estate and you're not invested in the market. Those are two issues that are going to strangle us for a long time to come.
And I know Gilman Road continues to be at the forefront of these matters and different activities that you all are doing from the local level and even on the international level.
Yes.
And it's good to know under your leadership these things are advancing forward.
Correct. And I want to say this, we are funded by educators. That's why student loan and education is critical to us. We want people to go and pursue their education, but it's getting more and more difficult as that hill gets steeper with student loan debt. So that's our issue. But yes, we're doing all the great work across 500 chapters, 100,000 inducted women. We're making it happen.
Well, we know under your leadership, your continued leadership, and as the outgoing president of the Council of Presidents of NPHC, we're so happy that you're standing firm and holding your sorors and all of your D9 leaders accountable. Because it's going to take all of us to make sure that we go forward and prevail.
I think it's important, as you said, there's a lot of advocacies, but it's critical that we mentor these young black boys.
Wow. Yes.
And young black girls for the sorority.
Yes.
Now, when we go on these college campuses, these HBCUs are full of girls.
Yes.
The girls are going to school.
Yes.
They're getting good grades.
They are.
They're minding. They're doing what they're supposed to do.
Yes.
These young boys, we got to get them early.
Got to.
In the 3rd grade, to encourage them to go to school. Now, we understand college is not for everybody. Get your trade. But don't sit at home and not do nothing and find yourself with an idle mind. Because what I'm concerned about is all over the country, they're giving young black boys 10, 15, 20, 30 years in the penitentiary.
Right, right.
And their whole life is gone. Many of the time, their parents die while they're in prison.
Right.
So we're trying to catch them early, skirt them around that crime and that foolishness, put them on the right track, and I think what black men being around them will make them go the right direction.
Yeah, because we know an idle mind is the devil's workshop.
Absolutely right.
And all that. I think it's essential. It's an ongoing matter.
Absolutely.
But now, I think we're at the most critical moment.
Absolutely.
Because of what we're facing in terms of so much crime and hatred and all that. It seems like a reoccurrence in our country.
Right.
So I know the men of Omega Psi Phi continue to be at the forefront. There are many mentoring programs and all that. I know you've all have had since your inception. But it's good to know that now, as Grand Bachelors, you're going to challenge your brothers to even be more intentional about the pursuit to save our black boys.
Absolutely. And what we've made in our fraternity is that mentoring is mandated.
Yes.
Every chapter shall have a mentoring program.
Yes.
You have to show quantifiable data that whatever city you're in, LA, Detroit, New York, Chicago, Baltimore, that you're impacting the lives of some young black boys.
Yes.
Now, we know we can't save them all. Nobody can save them all. But we need to do the best we can to encourage those young boys to not just sit around, look at social media, looking to do something they have no business, and end up impacting their life and their family's life by going to the penitentiary.
This is our assignment.
Unequivocally.
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 This is our assignment.
If there's anybody that can save us, it's us. It's the Iotas. It's the Kappas.
That's right.
It's the Alphas.
Yes.
It's the Sigmas, and it's the Omegas.
That's right.
We are trusted messengers in our community. When these young boys see these colors, they know these men are coming to help, and we got to do that.
And it speaks to the fact of the importance of Greek life.
Absolutely.
Because there's been some conversations that has gone as high as Capitol Hill of erasing Greek life.
Absolutely.
And all. Of course, we know the stance of Governor DeSantis in Florida and all.
That's right.
But because of our history.
Right. We're not going to allow that to happen.
We have to make our own history now.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And all.
Absolutely.
So I know with you leading the charge of the men of Omega Psi Phi, along with the other leaders of our D9, we're going to do it.
Absolutely.
We're going to do
Absolutely. it. Absolutely. Yeah, our community is demanding it. And when our community demands it, outside of the black church, we are the most trusted messengers in our community.
That's exactly right.
The most trusted. Right. And that's why we do what we do.
I think we could close it right there.
Consider it done. I'm honored.
Thank you
men
so
of
much.
Alpha for allowing me to do that.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, brother.
It's great to see you, and I know my stock went up because I'm on your show.
Have mercy. Have mercy. Well, listen, I know time is of essence. I know you've been busy and you still got many miles to go, so I'll get right to it. Advocacy.
Yes.
We know is that the paramount involving D9 organizations. And with all the comments being, oh, there's no importance of D9 organizations and all, we know we're still very essential to the fabric of this country. As international president, what do you feel one of those advocacy issues are, and how do you look to address it as the sorority's leading lady?
Well, thank you so much once again, and
pleasure.
hello to all of the brothers of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. We just completed our historic Zeta Day on the Hill, poised and prepared for the policy changes that need to happen in this country. So on September 20th, over 1,200 Zetas gathered here on the Capitol.
Wow.
We outgrew the Capitol and had to move
Yes.
to the historic Lincoln Theater
Yes.
because we were focused on making sure that we raise and amplify the education of our members to drive the policy changes that are needed, and specifically around the Omnibus Act. It's taken years for this bill. It's 12 different pieces of legislation to protect the black maternal rights,
Yes.
as well as our health and wellness as a community. So not only did we have a day filled with panel, we also pushed for
Yes.
the action
Yes.
after the education. We acknowledged Ben Crump with our first Trailblazer
Yes.
Social Justice Award. And I brought my D9 colleagues to stand with me for a public address to push for the passing of the Omnibus Act. So that's our very direct and relative action as a result of this Congressional Black Caucus Week. But we're going to continue as an organization to inform, educate, and activate going to the polls so that we can influence the local elections, not just the national government,
Right.
the local
Yes.
government
Yes.
is where we need to make the shift and change.
The grassroots.
And with that grassroots effort, we are touching the hearts of our community,
Yes.
meeting them in the barbershop, in the hair salon, in the supermarket, where we don't have to have conversations above their head, but what touches them in their heart
Yes.
so that they can connect with the
Yes.
necessary means to vote. Because not only did our foremothers and forefathers lose their life to fight for us to have this, our responsibility is to continue to advocate for the change that is possible when we realize who we are.
And this is why Zeta Phi Beta, this is nothing new for you all.
No.
You've been at the forefront since your inception in 1920. It just so happens to be now Stacey Grant is at the helm.
After
And I know
25
with your
women.
and I know with your energy, and I know you all about accountability, and you're all about just straightforwardness. I know that you all will continue to blaze the trail
Absolutely.
along with the other D9 leaders to ensure that advocacy prevails in and of itself.
That's our whole theme, embracing the extraordinary she. Social justice, health justice, and economic justice at home and abroad. We're going to get it done in the true trailblazing fashion of our 5 founders and in collaboration with our brothers and sisters of the D9, because we are stronger together.
Man, you know,
I know that's a loaded question.
It is a loaded question.
I know that's a
There's-
loaded
There's so
question.
many issues that we need to tackle, and so many things that we've collectively decided that we would tackle together. But, you know, if I were to pick one, because of the time urgency of the situation, I would say voting rights. It would be voting. And so our need to promote voter education, voter awareness, to create a sense of urgency amongst people of color, because right now, we need to mobilize our people to get out and vote. Many of the things that we talk about, worry about, complain about, we're watching states try and whitewash our history. We're watching things happen across the country that would be different if we got out and voted. Elections have consequences.
Yes.
And the reality is that when we don't turn out to vote, people get elected that do these types of things that now are creating a war situation for us.
Right.
So we've got to create some voter education, voter awareness. We've got to register our people to vote who haven't. We've got to start young. That new population of people that are getting to vote for the first time, we've got to get them as well. And then we've got to get voter turnout, because if we all turn out and vote, we win. And if we win these elections,
That's
not
right.
only nationally, but on the local level, on the
Yes,
state
sir.
level,
Yes, sir.
then we can take back our ability
Yes.
to go and change things that need to be changed
Yes.
that impact us in our daily lives,
Yes.
in our regional areas, our local levels, and in addition to the national election.
And I'm glad to hear you say that, because I know Kappa Alpha Psi has been at the forefront of this since its inception and all. And now as Grand Pole Mark, I know, I have no idea what your platform is, but just hearing you, it seems like that is at the forefront. And I know that local chapters within the fraternity are doing various platforms and events and all centered around that.
Right.
You know, can you kind of touch on some of the things that you're doing right now?
Yeah, and so, you know, one of the things that we're doing is we're challenging each of our regions to get out and register voters, and we've put a specific number out there in the spirit of our founding year of 1911 to get out there and register 1,911 voters in your respective regions. And we know because we're Noops and because we achieved, there will be some overperformance.
That's right.
And we'll register at least 25,000 new people between now and the time we go to vote next year. So we're pushing that. But not only that, on our college campuses, we're activating our undergraduate chapters to push that message on college campuses to motivate the young vote to get out and be there to push as well. And then in addition to that, one of our goals is to make sure that everybody grabs somebody, everybody is responsible in this struggle, and everybody has to get out there and spread the message. It just can't be us that are wearing Greeks. It's got to be the people that hear our message to understand that they also have a responsibility to get out there and fight for the cause.
Awesome. Awesome.